So here's the question. As a real estate investor, how do you build a business that you're excited to show up to every day, while you constantly grow your stream of passive income that you and your family can depend on for life, without having to leave your computer or even live somewhere that houses are affordable? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. Welcome to the Virtual Real Estate Investing Podcast with your host, Brian Elwood.
What's up, everybody? Brian Elwood here. Welcome back to the Virtual Real Estate Investing Podcast. If you guys have not gotten your free copy of my recently published book, Fire Yourself, you got to check it out. I go into deep detail about how we took our company from 300 grand a year to 7 figures a year or more for 4 years running now. All with one hire, one critical hire in your business, that of the acquisition manager. And in the book, I basically unveil everything that we currently do to hire new reps and train them and onboard them and manage them, all the documents you need, the interview questions, the job posting, the non-compete, stuff like how you need to get a background check done on them, and all the technology tools that you need in order to communicate with them, how to manage them, and the KPIs to track, how to pay them only when you get paid, on and on and on, right? This is a completely comprehensive book, and it's free. Best of all you got to do is go to fireyourself.net and get your copy. Check it out, guys. And I'm going to close the window here real quick because the weather is crazy in Denver. Hot and sunny 5 minutes ago, and now the trees look like they're about to blow over and the clouds are rolling in. But it'll probably be sunny again later because that's how it is out here. So I hope everybody's doing well today. For this episode, I want to actually just talk more about this topic of hiring an acquisition manager, because if I had to just pinpoint one thing that I think is the biggest mistake that most real estate investors or wannabe real estate investors are making, is that they don't have an acquisition manager in their company. And notice I even said wannabe real estate investors, because if you are just getting started in real estate, there's almost no better time to hire this person. And I know that sounds crazy, because you might say, I don't have any leads, I don't have anything going on. How in the heck could I hire somebody? But I promise you, if I was starting all over again and I had absolutely no money for marketing and I had no leads, I would still hire this person right away. It'd be by far the most impactful thing that I could do to scale the business from zero. And I will talk about why and how to overcome those objections that you may have in this episode. So a little bit of backstory before we dive in. When we first got started in real estate, before I had my business partner and even after he came on board, it was kind of a one-man show operation. He and I wrote all the we hand wrote all the letters ourselves, dropped them in the mailbox, took all the calls to our personal cell phones, analyzed leads, went on appointments, made offers, got contracts signed, followed up with customers, which if you know anything, you know that follow-up is critical in this business. All of our deals on average takes 60 days from the first time someone contacts us to the day that the ink is dry on the contract. So that's 2 months. We're obviously meeting with them way sooner than that, as soon as we possibly can from the moment they call in. So it's taken another 7 weeks, on average to convert somebody in our company. So follow-up is so important. And then sending the contract to the title company, communicating between the title company and the seller to coordinate the closing, and then all the other stuff like working with the inspectors and the handymen, working with contractors, overseeing that renovation process, getting the bank loan signed, and all that stuff. It's way too much, basically. Like, if you think about all the pieces in a real estate business, there's a lot going on. And a lot of people think that, they're just going to start as a real estate investor and just explode their business, just scale it like crazy. But then they get literally one deal that they're going to rehab, and they're completely swamped by one deal. And they can't handle any of the new phone calls that are coming in. They're not following up with anybody. They're over at the house of the one deal that they have, trying to figure out, how to manage the contractor. They're not even doing their accounting properly. So basically, if you don't learn how to hire and leverage other people early on, then you're very quickly going to be swamped as a real estate investor, especially if you're actively doing marketing and you're handling sales the right way. It's just unrealistic. I have coaching students that want to do 10, 15, 20 rehabs their first year. And I try to tell them, and I'm not always successful in communicating this, that by the time they get their first one or two projects going underway, and if they've never done this before, they're going to be completely swamped. They're not going to be able to do the activities to put new deals in the pipeline, like marketing and sales, to kind of keep it full. You have to have stuff just coming into your pipeline, stuff that's in the middle, stuff that's about to exit. You have to keep it balanced, right? And we've had plenty of times where our pipeline has become unbalanced, or everything's closing out, nothing new is coming in, or everything new is coming in, nothing's closing out. And they're both really bad places to be. So where am I going with all of this? Well, as far as not making this mistake, not trying to do everything yourself and very quickly becoming maxed out, the number one thing you can do is hire an acquisition manager, because that by far is the hardest job in a real estate investing outfit. The person whose phone is blowing up all day, who's analyzing leads, who's driving out to people's houses, sitting down at their dinner table with them for 2 hours, or meeting them for coffee, working out all the details of the terms of the deal, constructing offers, especially if you're doing it right and you're doing seller financing offers as well as cash offers, then following up, just diligently. I mean, you got to follow up 6 to 12 times on average to get a contract signed. Working with the title company, like all that stuff is easily a full-time job to be successful. And yet most newbie investors assume that they can do that job correctly, along with the job of being the marketing manager, which is also a full-time job. And then when they get a deal, whether you're going to wholesale it or flip it or keep it as a rental, another full-time job. So most newbies are just assuming that they can do the work of 3 people. And it's not healthy. The most successful guys will tell you that trying to outwork your competition is a success trap. And it only works up to a certain point. You can be that guy who says, I don't care, I'm going to work 12, 16, 18 hours a day. I'll do whatever it takes. And that's fine. You'll be successful that way, but you don't have to do that. I only did that for a short period of time, and I'd never do it again. I promise you that. Knowing what I know now, working smart is way better than working hard. You make more money in less time. You asked Tim Ferriss, he was asked how he spends his day at a seminar. And he's like, guys, to be honest with you, if you hung out with me, you'd be bored to death, because I'll meditate, I'll go on long walks, and I'll just think, I'll read books, drink coffee, and he ponders. And he said what he ponders is, what's the one big domino that I can knock over that will make every other thing unnecessary or irrelevant. And that's a really powerful thing. A lot of people, are going to hear that and just be like, yeah, whatever, move on, Brian. But you're either going to learn that lesson right now or you're going to learn it later. And I can't force you to learn it now. You have to be ready for that. But that's an example of working smart, not hard, right? So instead of, let's just bring that back down to our world. Instead of just saying, whatever, and I'm just going to hustle and I'll answer all these calls and I can work all these leads and still manage the rehab and, keep track of all of our books and I'll follow up. And and if you want to do that, you can, but you're not working smart. Working smart would be sitting back and taking a deep breath and saying, you know what? What could I do that would essentially take care of this entire problem I have of being completely swamped? It would solve that problem and also make things better. And hiring people is the answer to this. I want to keep going high level on you guys because this is more of a foundational business concept, is that you've got to learn to hire well. This applies to everything. You shouldn't be paying your own bills. You shouldn't be deploying your own marketing. You don't need to be managing your own renovations and all that stuff. But I understand that you can't realistically hire people for all these positions right away. The good news is that the acquisition manager is paid on commission. So you only pay them when you get paid. Now, we pay our acquisition manager around 10% of the gross revenue on a deal. So let's say we were going to make $30,000 on a fix and flip. The acquisition manager would make $3,000. In the first 60 days of their hire, 60 to 90 days, we give them draw. And if you don't know what draw is, it's money that you pay a commissioned employee that they then pay you back later out of their commissions. So if we agreed to pay an acquisition manager $400 a week for up to 60 days, and let's say there was no closings that happened in that 60 days that the acquisition manager was responsible for, he would owe $1,600 a month for 2 months. So that's $3,200 he would owe the company in draw. And then his draw stopped at 60 days. You don't pay draw endlessly. People have to earn their keep or they have to go. So that $3,200 is kind of a debt against future commission. So if we close out a rehab where we made $20,000 and he was owed $2,000 of that because he was at 10%, you would subtract $2,000 from the $3,200 he owes in draw. So he would make nothing on that deal closing out, but his draw owed would be reduced to $1,200. And so that's how you pay somebody in the beginning. And it does help to entice them, get them on board to work for you. However, it's not necessary. And if I was completely broke and I did not have a dollar that I could afford to pay somebody, I would still run job ads for acquisition managers and meet them at coffee shops and explain to them my plan for world domination and how they can come along for the ride and get a piece of this pie, but they have to be willing to grind with me for free for a period of time. And I would tell them, I don't expect you to show up at a certain time on a certain day. I don't expect you to work full time, but I do expect you to work the leads that I send you in a timely fashion. And I want to see updates that you've made offers, you've met with these people, and I'll teach you how to analyze leads. And I'll even pay you a higher commission on the first 5 or 10 we do to make up for the fact I wasn't able to pay you draw. Whatever it takes, everything in life is negotiable. And so that's what I would do starting over, because then I could drive every lead I had to someone to work it to max capacity. And if you're sitting there saying, well, I don't have any leads either, Well, there's leads all over your market, I promise you. They're on the MLS, they are on Zillow, they're on Craigslist, they're on the for sale by owners sign, they are at the auction, they are at the probate court. Fantastic one is, they're coming in from wholesalers. Those are already under contract. You need to be making offers on all those things, and they're all free. If you're not making offers on all those, just start with that. Create a system where your acquisition manager writes a letter of intent, not a legal contract, but a letter of intent to every single thing that's for sale that meets your criteria. And then you're already setting yourself up to get a deal with zero spend. It's a genius way to just break into a market and have somebody write those offers for you and have someone in between you and all those customers, because then all your time is protected to continue to strategize on how to grow. So guys, we are out of time for this episode, and I barely scratched the surface on this topic. So check out my book if you want the comprehensive guide on how to make this hire in your company at www.fireyourself.net. I'm giving that book away for free there. And we will do a part 2. The very next episode, I'll continue on what you need to do to crush it when you hire your acquisition manager. Talk to you guys then. Peace.
Want more? Get your free copy of Brian's book that is changing real estate businesses everywhere. Just go to www.fireyourself.net. Also, register for your free virtual real estate investing online masterclass at virtualinvestingclass.com.